There are things that just don't seem real, but they were captured on camera. Whether by security cameras, live broadcasts, or completely unexpected recordings, the world has already witnessed moments so bizarre, funny, and even frightening that they seem like a movie scene, but they really happened. And what's most curious? Many of these events lasted only seconds, but they were enough to go viral and leave millions of people unable to believe what they were seeing. Among the various exercises used to test recruits, the police academy at Indiana University uses a rather curious method known as the chicken test. In this exercise, cadets need to maintain concentration and above all, seriousness while being exposed to deliberately funny situations created by the instructors, such as using a rubber chicken to distract them. The goal is to assess the level of self-control and the ability to stay focused even under pressure or when faced with unexpected stimuli. If the recruit cannot hold back laughter or loses their posture, they end up receiving an immediate punishment, usually having to remain in the plank position for a certain period.
Drop.
Precisely because it is an unusual training exercise and even fun to watch, recordings of this test began circulating on social media and quickly went viral, drawing the attention of thousands of people who are surprised to see how something seemingly simple can be so challenging in an environment of strict discipline. On a Chinese TV show, a man and a woman competed to see who could finish a cotton candy first, and the way the woman did it surprised everyone. While the man grabbed the stick with cotton candy and started biting the food around the edges, the woman simply removed all the cotton candy from the stick, compressed it, and put it in her mouth all at once, managing to eat it in seconds, while the man was still there biting around the edges. When he looked to the side and saw that the woman's cotton candy no longer existed, he couldn't believe it and, consequently, lost the contest. The moment drew attention not only because the woman was much cleverer than the man, but also because of the completely unusual and uncommon contest involving cotton candy. In December 2025, employees at a Walmart unit in Canton, in the state of Ohio, called the police after detaining two shoplifting suspects and escorting them to the store's loss prevention room, where they would wait for the officer's arrival. When a police officer arrived at the scene, he began the standard identification and pat-down procedure in search of weapons. And at that moment, everything seemed under control, with no indication that the situation could escalate into something more serious. However, a few minutes later, the suspect, later identified as 21-year-old Shane C. Hamid L. Newman, surprised everyone by putting his hand inside his clothing and drawing a firearm while still seated. He then pointed the gun directly at the officer and even pulled the trigger at point-blank range. But decisively, the gun malfunctioned and did not fire, preventing a possible tragedy. Faced with the attempted attack, the response was immediate, and a Walmart loss prevention team employee lunged at the suspect, while the officer also sprang into action, managing to restrain him quickly. After a brief physical struggle, Newman was taken to the ground, disarmed, and handcuffed on the spot, with no shots fired and no injuries. Subsequently, investigations revealed that the suspect was already prohibited from possessing a firearm due to a criminal record, and he ended up being charged with attempted murder, assault on a police officer, among other crimes related to the case. In January 2025, striking images recorded in Whitehall, Ohio, in the United States showed the exact moment when an oxygen cylinder, improperly discarded, exploded inside a garbage truck during collection. In the video, two sanitation workers are seen emptying residential trash cans normally, when suddenly a powerful explosion occurs at the rear of the vehicle, hurling debris in all directions and forcing one of the employees to quickly protect himself as he tries to move away from the impact. The cause of the incident was attributed to an oxygen cylinder that had been illegally placed in regular household trash, something extremely dangerous due to the highly flammable nature of the material. Local authorities highlighted that this type of item must not be disposed of in this way precisely because of the risk of explosions, especially when subjected to compression inside collection trucks. Of the explosion, the workers escaped without serious injuries, being considered extremely lucky since a few centimeters could have resulted in a tragedy. The case gained wide attention after the images were released, also serving as a warning about the dangers of incorrect disposal of potentially explosive materials in household trash. A security camera recorded an impressive moment during a driving test carried out in June 2023 in the Buenos Aires region, when a 63-year-old woman ended up losing control of the vehicle and becoming involved in an accident. The footage shows that, at first, the candidate was driving the car in an apparently normal manner, but along the route, she began to make small mistakes, such as mounting the curb and ignoring road signs, showing nervousness behind the wheel. Shortly after, while trying to perform a maneuver, the situation went completely out of control. The woman ended up confusing the pedals and, instead of braking, accelerated the vehicle. As a result, the car surged forward uncontrollably, drove over the crosswalk, and collided directly with a pole. The impact was so strong that the vehicle even rolled over, ending up partially overturned on the road. Emergency teams, including firefighters and the local civil defense, were called in quickly to respond to the incident and assist in removing the driver, who was trapped inside the car after the accident. Despite the seriousness of the scene and the violence of the collision, the woman was rescued alive and taken to the hospital with only minor injuries, in addition to a state of extreme nervousness. In July 2024, footage recorded by a residential security camera on Prince Edward Island captured an extremely rare event: a meteorite fall hitting the ground right in front of a house. The video shows the exact moment the space rock plummets from the sky at high speed and collides with the home's driveway, scattering fragments and kicking up dust instantly. Most impressive is that the recording captured not only the visual impact, but also the sound of the collision, something considered unprecedented by experts. The object fell precisely where the resident, identified as Joe Valatum, had been just minutes earlier, which turned the episode into a true near-fatal accident.
4. Captured clearly in daylight. The smash steps away from Joe Valatum's house.
Upon returning home after an outing, he and his partner found the ground covered with grayish fragments and initially did not understand what had happened, until they analyzed the camera footage and realized it was a meteorite. Experts later confirmed that the rock was a common type of meteorite, likely originating from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and highlighted the rarity of the recording, since these impacts are rarely filmed with such clarity, especially with synchronized audio. In 2018, a very unusual case involving plainclothes police officers went viral on the internet after showing a situation that could easily have ended in a dangerous way. The agents, identified as Nick Westbrook and Jesse Stradling, were patrolling in an unmarked Ford Mustang when they were surprised by a man posing as a police officer. The imposter carried out an approach as if it were a legitimate traffic stop, using typical signs of an authority, which at first could fool any ordinary driver. However, as he approached the vehicle, he did not know that he was dealing precisely with two experienced police officers, even though they were outside official patrol cars and without visible identification at that moment. The situation quickly drew the agents' attention, and they began to notice inconsistencies in the approach, such as the suspect's posture and the lack of proper identification. Faced with this, they reacted in a strategic and safe manner, revealing their identities and controlling the individual, who ended up being arrested for impersonating a law enforcement officer, a serious crime, especially in the United States, where this type of conduct can put lives at risk. During a live broadcast of a Russian TV newscast in 2017, a completely unexpected moment ended up stealing the spotlight and going viral on the internet. While the anchor was normally delivering the news, which at that moment dealt with an urban topic in Moscow, a noise coming from under the desk caught her attention. Seconds later, a Labrador dog simply appeared in the studio, leaving the journalist visibly surprised, but still trying to keep her composure live. The animal, clearly excited, began to walk around the set, and in one of the most striking moments, jumped up onto the desk, placing its front paws on the table as if it also wanted to take part in the broadcast. Situation, the anchor tried to continue the newscast, but she couldn't hide her bewilderment at the unexpected intrusion. In the middle of the scene, she even commented live, something like, "What is this dog doing here?" and, in a good-humored tone, also revealed that she prefers cats. Despite the initial shock, the moment quickly turned into something light and fun, with the anchor even petting the animal before regaining control of the situation. Later, it was reported that the dog had probably escaped from another area of the studio and ended up entering the set by accident. A woman was caught on a beach having immense difficulty composing herself after being hit, still in the shallows, by a few small waves. She was sitting on the strip of sand, right in the shallow water where a few small waves were breaking, until at a certain moment the tide rose a little more with a slightly stronger wave, which was enough to cause her a huge embarrassment. She even tries to get up at times, but it becomes quite noticeable that she was intoxicated, and because of that, couldn't get out of there. The scene becomes comical because of this as well. To make matters worse, a man who would be her husband approaches to help, but he also seems to have trouble staying on his feet, probably due to the influence of alcohol. In the end, they stay there rolling around and falling, but they don't get out of the water. Internet users joked about the situation, saying the couple must still be there to this day trying to get up to get out of there. During an apparently ordinary report at a high school in Olathe, Kansas, a totally unexpected moment ended up turning the reporter himself into the star of the story. It all started when he went to the school to cover a case that was already going viral. Basketball coach Joel Brandstrom had made an impressive shot from mid-court, blindfolded during a school event, something that was meant to be just a prank by the students, but ended up working in an unbelievable way. While recording the piece about this unlikely feat, the reporter, identified as Rob Lowe, decided to get into the spirit and try a similar play in a completely relaxed way. Without any preparation and even joking around, he threw the ball backward from the mid-court line, without even looking at the basket. What nobody expected, not even him, was that the ball would travel perfectly through the air and drop straight into the hoop, without touching the backboard, repeating a feat as unlikely as the coach's own.
Half-court shot that is now the talk of campus and beyond.
The reporter himself was visibly unable to understand what had just happened, even questioning whether the ball had really gone into the basket, while the cameraman, equally surprised, confirmed that everything had been recorded. The spontaneous moment, combined with the already curious context of the original story, made the video quickly spread across the internet. Many internet users joked, saying that he should change professions and try a career in basketball, while others commented, humorously, that that court seemed blessed. A truck driver was calmly driving his truck along a highway when he came across a driver completely out of control, behaving recklessly at the scene. The video recorded by the camera mounted on the truck's dashboard shows the exact moment the convertible's driver approaches, cuts in front of the truck on the right, pulls ahead, and starts braking, while also gesturing at the truck driver. The driver's attitude, of course, starts to irritate the truck driver, who is forced to slam on the brakes every moment in order to avoid a collision.
The way that he literally just got thrown forward. Yeah, what a damn idiot. Now he's gonna open his door and...
However, at a certain moment, already irritated, the truck driver doesn't brake and slams straight into the rear of the vehicle, leaving the driver frightened and outraged. He stops the vehicle, gets out, starts trying to fight, but gets back in and begins provoking the truck driver again, who hits him once more. Seeing that, in this fight, he was going to come out worse and worse, he gets back into the car and decides to go on his way without putting anyone else's life at risk, including his own, through sheer recklessness. In 2018, a curious case gained enormous repercussion on the internet after the release of the mugshot of Charles Dion McDowell, a man arrested in the United States for various crimes, including fleeing the police and drug possession. However, what really caught the public's attention were not the charges, but an unusual physical characteristic: his extremely wide and disproportionate neck. The image was posted by the police on social media and quickly went viral, racking up thousands of comments, shares, and a flood of jokes on social media, turning McDowell into an instant meme video. All of this virality ended up reaching television as well. During a CBS newscast in Philadelphia, co-anchor Rahel Solomon tried to report the case professionally, but ultimately couldn't hold back her laughter when commenting on the suspect's unusual appearance. Live on air, she showed difficulty in maintaining her seriousness, interrupting the read several times, which made the moment even more spontaneous and funny for the audience. The reaction was so great that the nickname Wide Neck came to be associated with him, and his image circulated widely on the internet, generating everything from jokes to discussions about public exposure. In 2021, an apparently shocking moment during a live broadcast of the Today Show program quickly drew the attention of the public and the show's guests that day. During the appearance of a guest illusionist, everything seemed to be going normally until, when sitting down on a stool in the studio, the piece of furniture apparently gave way suddenly. Right after that, a metal rod emerged from beneath the seat, giving the impression that it had struck the magician's body directly, creating a scene as unexpected as it was uncomfortable, and at the same time, drawing laughter from the hosts and guests present.
Part of the trick?
Are you okay?
Oh, wow, look at that.
The reaction in the studio was a mix of shock and humor, since the situation seemed, at first glance, like a serious accident happening live. However, the illusionist's own behavior, quickly turning the moment into something comedic, began to raise suspicions that it was nothing more than a carefully planned setup, and, in fact, it was. It was later revealed that everything was part of an illusion trick. The stool used was specially prepared for the act, containing a hidden mechanism, while the supposed metal rod was retractable and designed to create the illusion of impact without causing any real harm. A curious case that went viral on the internet involved a man named Steve McBeth, a resident of British Columbia, who was completely intrigued after reviewing the footage captured by his home security camera. According to him, what appeared in the recordings was something different from anything he had ever seen, which immediately sparked his curiosity and, shortly after, that of the entire internet. In the video, it is possible to see a small point of light moving quickly in the darkness, until the figure seems to change direction and approach the camera. The detail that drew the most attention was the shape of the object. At a certain moment, it seems to have a vaguely humanoid silhouette with something like shining wings, which led many people to compare the image to a fairy or some mystical creature. McBeth himself described the recording as something bizarre and even commented that the appearance seemed slightly humanoid, which increased the mystery even more. As happens with this type of content, reactions on the internet were divided. While some users believed they were looking at something inexplicable or even supernatural, many others took a more skeptical view. Experts and internet users suggested that the most likely explanation is that the creature was in fact a flying insect, such as a cricket or a dragonfly, which, due to the camera's infrared lighting and the rapid movement, ended up creating this unusual visual illusion. Even with more rational explanations, the video spread quickly, precisely because it plays with people's imagination. Don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this